I don't know what is going on. I don't know what's going on with my hair. Honey, I'm going back to the braids because it's starting to be warm and my roots is like, bitch, we going back to the cotton fields. The roots are thick. The roots are thick, honey. Lovely on X. Catalia, how you going? Sylvia. The fashion they're wearing at Andre. Yeah. We got to talk about the dandies, the black dandies. Huh? F Florida girl. Your hair looks good. It's just the roots, honey. The roots. It's big. It's because it's thick. It's poofing out. A slight of humidity. They're like, oh, it's summertime. It ain't even summer yet. And the roots is like poof. Thank you, Roosevelt. So, hi guys, happy Monday. So, I may be switching things up. I don't know. I may have to go back to doing live shows on Thursdays or maybe Tuesdays. I don't know. I want to switch things up. It'll be after my Beyonce concert later in the month. For June, I'm gonna switch things up. So I may be switching from going live on Monday to a Tuesday or back to Thursday. Maybe go back to Thursday because that was the original day. And then I caught myself being cute adding a Monday. So I think I'm gonna go back to Thursdays doing lives. Yeah. But so we have to talk about the Met Gala. Yes, we do. Because the theme is the dandy, the black dandy, black fashion, black culture, black tailoring, black, 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 black. Some people, drop the ball, but I'm going to go through the outfits another day, not with the judge. We're just going to talk about the history of the dandy. Lewis Hamilton is co-chair of the Met Gala, and this is what he wore, right? I'm going to pull up some pics of him, but everyone's paying a homage to the dandy, specifically black men fashion, right? About damn time. About damn time. And of course, today is the start of the Diddy trial. Yes, it was jury selection. It was jury selection today. And we have to talk about that. And I wish that they would have allowed the cameras in the courtroom. But I don't think New York allowed cameras in a courtroom. Has there ever been a high profile case in New York where they allow cameras in a courtroom? No, I don't think so. Let me know in the chat on X and on YouTube. So, guys, listen, please like the video, this live stream, like it, share it on all your social media platforms. If you're watching on X, like and repost on X. Yes, I love Lewis Hamilton too. That's Bay. That's Boo. That's the Boo thing. Yes, that's the Boo. Um, so I think we're gonna have a really good show today whenever the judge gets on. He said, look for me. So that means, you know, his Wi-Fi is, doing what it do. Lately, my Wi-Fi have been acting up. My connection is not that strong. And honestly, I'm waiting for Verizon to come into our area because I'm going to switch to Verizon. But also, I want to talk about the Ohio father, Rodney Hinton Jr., who ran over a sheriff because another sheriff shot and killed his son, and his son name is Ryan Hinton. But the cop he ran over that was directing traffic is not the police officer that shot and killed his son. So you could see somebody wrote an X, a crime of passion, and people think crime of passions is usually a woman catching her man or a man catching his woman with another person. But, his son was shot and killed on a Thursday. and he ran over a sheriff who was directing traffic, a cop who was directing traffic on a Friday. Now he is arrested. Tomorrow is his bail hearing. They did start a GoFundMe for the son that passed away and also in support of the father. And there are a lot of people out here echoing, specifically Black people, saying, oh, he did right, or not so much he's a hero, but it was justified, yada, yada, yada. It wasn't justified. He's not a hero. Not saying that anybody's calling him a hero, but it was not justified. Um, but I do believe something snapped. But of course, we're going to talk about the legal aspect with the judge. And I held the X space today. And we was talking about that Rodney Hinton Jr. situation. Okay, so no garage says no Fed courts don't allow cameras. Never have. Okay. So that's what it is. That's so when we see cameras, I guess we're seeing state data in 2025, despite New York's general restrictions, cameras are allowed in specific circumstances. One key exception applies to appellate courts. Thank you, Katalia. Okay. Yeah, I see the judge. I'm gonna wait till he gets settled before I bring him on because I don't want y'all looking all through his house. From the courthouse pictures, paintings, Puff Daddy looks old and gray. Of course, it's called stress. You got the Rico coming down with the hammer, and then you got all these civil lawsuits. Even though I'm pretty sure he's like, get out of here with that. But he ain't take no plea deal, and he want to make sure that he wins. I guess he don't want to spend the rest of his life in jail. So I would be stressed too. Now he has the money for a quote unquote dream team. Hi, Judge.
Hello, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Okay.
I would say you look dandy today, and you're all black.
Don't even go there.
Okay, so I sent you a text the other day. I was like, hey, have you ever heard of the term a dandy? You was like, yep.
It's actually kind of an insult.
Really?
Yeah. Dandified, that was an insult. A dandy. It was like the real word that corresponded to it was foppish.
Okay.
Over concerned with fashion and style. That ranges from having suit pants that fit like their pair of workout tights or something like that, to armholes in Italian suits you can't get your arms in. Stuff that if you had a CCW you couldn't use because it's too tight, that kind of thing. That's foppish. That's also dandified. They used to joke about it.
So, okay, so it says here, I had put in the dandy and it came up. The dandy can refer to several things, including a style of dress, a character in a Scottish comic, a band, a perfume. In general, a dandy is a man who pays meticulous attention to his appearance and dress, often expressing individuality and making a statement through fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's great. And so this year, well, because this year at the Met Gala,
Okay.
right?
See, let me say something. Have you ever noticed that when you go to a formal affair, the waiters and the guest of honor and everybody else that are men, they're all kind of dressed in this uniform thing, whether it's a tux or a white tie and tails, and you distinguish yourself by the list of your deeds, not by your appearance. Well, the people who get too deep off into appearances tend to be the people who are not too off into their deeds, or else if they are people who get off into their deeds and they're doing a celebrity thing, they're trying to stand out amongst a bunch of similarly talented celebrities. So they set a bad trend for the rest of the people who go around trying to look foppish rather than not necessarily calling attention to themselves.
Well, Yeah, and somebody in the chat put dandy can means excellent. Like that's dandy because we're talking about fine tailoring. So
Doesn't mean excellent. It never did. It
mhm.
was sarcasm when they used it that way, and they talked about is Jim Dandy to the rescue. That was insult of a sort. In other words, the guy paid more attention to his clothes than his manhood.
Oh. Well, this year at the Met, the theme is super fine tailoring black style, right? The Black Dandy, dandyism. It says the Costume Institution Spring 2025 exhibition presents a culture and historical examination of Black style over 300 years through the concept of dandyism in the 18th century Atlantic world, a new culture of consumption fueled by the slave trade, colonialism, imperialism, and able access to clothing and goods that indicated wealth, distinction, and taste. Black dandyism sprung from the intersection of African and European style traditions. Now, the exhibit at the Met Museum in New York City is going on from May 10th to October 26th of 2025, and I'm going to go while I'm in New York the end of this month. So this year at the Met Gala, our guy, Lewis Hamilton, he is on the chair for the Met Gala. He sits on the chair, and this is him. He looks so handsome. Lewis Hamilton, he picked a cream colored suit, matching beret for the 2025 Met Gala. He is serving as one of tonight's co-chairs. Last year, Hamilton wore an all-black custom Burberry outfit with floral embellishment. Yes, this is him tonight. He looks gorgeous. And this is him speaking, and this is him last year at the Met Gala. So, getting back to the dandy, I wanted to ask you though. The question that I want to ask you about it, when you're talking about your generation and older and your father's generation, right? During those times, men, no matter what social economic class, whether it's poor, middle class, or wealthy or upper class, men, particularly black men, sorry, you wore when you walked outside about presentation. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
It was about presentation when men wore suits or whether a suit and a tie or a clean white shirt with some trousers and shoes, dignified. So black fashion, I want to ask you, what is black fashion to you when we're talking about classism, culture, your generation? What is black fashion to you, the black man, as a black man?
Well, black men tried to dress like other men. There wasn't a black style, though there was a thing called the zoot suit that was popular with those who were trying to be trendy, whether they were white, black, brown, red, yellow. And they had some famous so called zoot suit riots in Los Angeles involving the Hispanics, where it was in World War II. It gave the U.S. a bad name. You had a lot of racists from the South who were in the Los Angeles area for training with the Navy, the Marines, the Army, and the Army Air Corps. And a lot of people were pouring out there for the aerospace, well, the aviation industry at the time. And a lot of bad things got brought, and there was a week-long riot where some of these Southerners were going around and finding any Mexican they could in zoot suits, stripping them naked, beating them up, that kind of thing. So the zoot suit was the uh, representation of that being dandy, I guess. And then earlier in the century, right at the turn, you got the switch from functional clothing to real tight clothes. real gaudy clothes, and that was looked at as dandified. And it's kind of sort of you're standing out, they can see you over there. So if they're looking at something, what are they looking for? So it's been pretty obvious that the further down the level, the totem pole you are, the more likely you are to be dandified. And you've seen that thing of the dandy dancing because some of the cowpokes are shooting bullets at his feet that he's got to dance around to avoid. That's a classic representation. Now, I'm a fan of Sir Lewis Hamilton, but I really think he needs to spend his time focusing on learning how to get the most out of his Ferrari Formula One car than going to a gala Met Gala rather.
Well, that was already on his schedule for a year ago.
Yeah,
However,
I don't care. He needs to cancel that and just needs to focus.
well,
That's like, for example, you're talking about television and cameras in the courtrooms. Well, as far as it goes in the federal system, myself, Judge Napolitano, and Judge uh, Mathis got invited to lecture to the Second Circuit, Second Judicial Circuit. That includes the U.S. Supreme Court. So there are 5 members of the U.S. Supreme Court in the audience. And Napolitano and Brown, we showed up, but Mathis indicated he had a prior arrangement to do a gospel concert rehearsal, so he couldn't come. So everybody in the room, when they read that announcement from him, was kind of flabbergasted. Like, you miss a chance to lecture to members of the U.S. Supreme Court, and you do this, you throw this away so you can be in a gospel show? No, you make the gospel show wait. That just doesn't equate. But the point was that I gave about a 30-minute long recitation on was, does the camera in the courtroom distract from what's going on in the courtroom? And I've done some experimentation.
wait, what are you talking about? The Diddy thing question?
Yeah, about why they don't have the
So
camera
can you
in
hold
the
that for 1
courtroom.
second? Can you
Oh,
hold it for 1 second until we finish up this?
yeah, I mean, it wasn't going to take long
I
because
know, but I just want to ask you one more thing though, because I want you to go back to your time, your generation, and your father's generation, the evolution of black men fashion. Because
there was no black man fashion. It
yes,
was
it
no,
was.
it wasn't. Everybody dressed like everybody else. You go to a function today, and the Chinamen, the Japanese, the Russians, the Hungarians, the English, the French, the Canadians, the Australians, the Africans, you name it, they all have on the same thing. So a prominent black man wore what everybody else who was masculine wore for the purpose. In other words, there wasn't a black standard of attire except for the fools down in the ghetto who
Well,
couldn't
what about the
get
church?
anything accomplished, and they tended to be the ones that everybody turned their noses up at.
Well, what about the black church
Black churches, the preachers have had their impeccable conservative dark colored suits, white shirts, and
and
ties.
the women with their hats?
Everybody wore a hat. The way they wear baseball caps now, uh, people used to wear fedoras,
Mhm.
hats back then. And in fact, if you want a good hat, get yourself an Akubra. It's made in Australia. And the reason you can get a good hat for a reasonable price is if you go to Australia, you don't see the masculine population wearing baseball caps. They wear the brimmed hats. So they have a huge market over there. And since they sell a lot of them, the prices are cheap for what you get. And you get a good hat in the Cobra, an
I'm
American.
I'm so tired of you being modest and being sometimes a pessimist, because you got to understand that, and maybe it's because your generation and the older generation, listen, when it came to the church, whether you worked in a sharecropper or if you were a black lawyer, you knew to have on a clean shirt, a clean dress, or a woman would spend her last $5 extra on a church dress or a hat. But I don't think y'all guys realize how you set trends, and
Yeah,
you
but we look like everybody else did. I mean, if
I don't
the
know.
black
I don't
man's
think
back was
so.
to you and he had his hat on, you unless you show a lot of neck, you couldn't tell who he was or what he was if his hands were showing. So
Okay,
I
real
mean,
quick. You saw the movie Sinners and the twin
yeah,
brothers,
I saw that.
their suits. That's dandy. The suits that they had on were dandy.
Dandy. Everybody wore a suit. If you worked as the milkman, you had on a tie. If you worked in a factory, you had on a tie. There's a thing about that. That collar and that tie is the last portion of male body armor that we still have. It got to the gentleman carried a light sword, and one of the favorite fatal moves was to nick somebody's carotid artery. So what they did is they kept these collars up. You see these clown collars in Shakespearean representation, or you see the colonists when they're meeting to set up the Constitution, they have stock wrapped around their neck. That was to protect your neck. The Marines were called leathernecks because they had high leather collars. So this collar, this tie, is the last residual of male armor. So that's what it was about. Now, one of the reasons that people had white shirts was because you could throw them in a wash that you had to do yourself with bleach in it and bluing, which they called it, to make them look whiter. And people were just then getting into deodorant. They didn't have antiperspirant. So you had to pretty much beat the devil out of a shirt in order to clean it. And white was much easier to clean than any other color because the other colors would fade. So you wore white just like if you were playing football. Still, if you're playing football and your workout uniform is not what you have on when you're out there on a field playing a game, it tends to be white. Now, why would you wear white that gets grass stained and muddy? That's because you can put bleach in the stuff and you can really beat it up when you wash it and put it in hot water and get it clean. That's what you had the white linen about.
So maybe in 2025, my generation or whatever, and younger generation, maybe we have it wrong. Maybe we have it backwards because I believe you. How you're breaking down the reasons, or yeah, that was common to wear a suit. That's just what it was. But we looking at that like, oh my God, they're so dapper. That's fly. And but you're like, you wore the white, a clean white shirt, and it was crispy clean because of the way they washed it. I think
You
that we
starched it.
yeah, I think that we're looking at it backwards.
And the other thing is up until the 1920s, when a guy put on a shirt, the collars were separate and the collars buttoned onto the shirt. And they had these celluloid collars that were made out of early plastic that were white. So they would just buy them by the dozen and throw them away when you soiled the collar, and you'd wear the shirt twice, but you'd have a different collar each time. So you see these collars that are up where the ties are around them, and the ties, you can see the rest of it going around the neck. Those are celluloid collars for the most part. Um, it is a thing. And the other point was, I did a lot of criminal trial practice, and I had occasion to represent some real serious criminals. And it's interesting, the real serious criminals tended to dress more conservatively than the wannabes, because it's like a cop would have a very hard time demonstrating probable cause to stop somebody who's in a suit and tie or a three-piece suit with a briefcase and saying, come here, what you doing? So the idiots would go around standing out with garish colors and crazy styles and looking strange, and it'd be like they're carrying the flag, bust me, I'm up to some no good, or I'm a wannabe, so you might as well jack me up and get me scared to go do what I'm thinking about doing. So the major gangsters all dressed like they were businessmen.
Mm.
And it was camouflage,
Mm.
urban camouflage. But they don't want to do that.
Today now is not no camouflage.
Well, some of the real serious crooks still do that.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Dude, that's true. That
Well,
is
and this didn't really happen until the Obama administration. The president of the United States never showed up without a shirt and tie on in a suit coat or a sport coat until Obama, and he got to running around like this, where he'd have his tie off, and it just looked like the casual, foppish dandyism that you'd associate with a chick flick matinee star instead of a competent national executive. So we have gotten away from that.
Can you see this question here real quick before we get into the next topic? Do you guys still talk about Formula One on YouTube? No, we don't, Harmon. And you know why? Blame him. Blame the judge. Blame the judge because ever since 2 years ago, when Lewis Hamilton was cheated out of the eighth championship, the judge protested and did not want to take the time out to do a recap of the Formula One race like we used to do. He protested and then he just got disinterested. So blame him.
Yeah, you can. That thing about keeping Hamilton from being 8 times world champion was an absolute disgrace. The race director had met with Miss Verstappen, met with his family, met with his father, had lunch and dinner with them quite a few times during the month before that. And what happened is there was an accident at the end of a race. Hamilton was way out in front, and Verstappen was working his way up through the pack, and there were like 5, 6 laps left in the race, and the safety car came out. And what the race director did was several things that were wrong. Mercedes asked him if he was going to follow the rule book and how the race was to be finished. And Mercedes was advised that the rule book would be followed. They, meanwhile, did something else. Not they, I mean, the race director called up the Red Bull pit and said, look, what I'm going to do, and I haven't told Mercedes, is I'm going to call the safety car in if we can. I don't care, on the last lap, so we can race. Now, what he allowed to happen was it was Hamilton in front, 1, 2, 3, 4 cars that he had lapped. And behind those 4 cars, in fifth position behind him in terms of cars to be passed, was Verstappen. What happened is, with 1 lap to go, the rules were that the safety car should lead everybody across the line in the order they were when the safety car came out, because it would have to complete 1 more lap after it was due to pull in, when they allowed the lapped individuals to go in front of the safety car to try and get unlapped. So the race director allowed the other 4 cars between Hamilton and Verstappen to proceed in front of the safety car to get unlapped. And then, instead of following the rule book, which says the safety car has to stay out for 1 more complete lap after that, he let them come in. And Mercedes had relied on his representation that he was going to follow the rule book and didn't change Hamilton's tires. So Hamilton had some wore out tires. Verstappen with Red Bull was advised that they were not going to follow the rule book. So they came in and put on brand new tires. So for the 1 lap they had left in the race, he damn near ran Hamilton off the road, literally, and he beat Hamilton to the finish line. And ordinarily, had it not been for the safety car, there would have been 1, 2, 3, 4 back markers that he would have had to have passed. And the rule book was specific. It said, under those circumstances, the race is essentially finished and the safety car will escort everybody across in the order that they were when the safety car came out. So Hamilton would have been world champion for unprecedented number 8. So they
That's
cheated
what they
out.
do now with the safety car. Let me just say this real quick about the Met, because he is one of the co-chairs. I done seen 2 or 3 of his past girlfriends there, so he's gonna have his hand full tonight.
Yeah, he is. But the point is that he's got 10 more days before the next race preparation comes up. And what he did way back when he was trying to get his fourth world championship is he fell on some doldrums, some hard times it was. And he said he was going to use the summer break to focus so he could get back on the stick. So right now, what you have is one, two, three rookies in cars that have no kind of reputation close to Ferrari are beating him on the track. You've got somebody who is brand new, 17 years old, in the Mercedes he probably should have stayed with, is beating him in the Mercedes, and the Russell that was his teammate. You've got Leclerc, who has never won a championship, and he is beating Hamilton in the same car repeatedly. Now, granted, their personal preferences, but they're saying Hamilton just has to get used to the car. But there's some brand new rookies who have not even been in Formula One that are doing better. So Sonoda isn't a rookie, but he's driving for Red Bull and he's doing better. And Williams, which has been, for the last 5 or 6 years, they're lucky to get a point anywhere. And they've been running and rolling faster than Ferrari. What the devil is going on here? Something is really screwed.
Well,
And they made a change in the car this year from one that was in contention for being champion last year. Now it's a
can we talk about this on another day because you don't want to do Formula One podcast anymore? So
but it's what it is, and I think the young man needs to bail on that Met Gala.
well, it's already
Or,
happening, so it's
yeah,
done
he
with.
needs to
Done
do
with.
some focus.
Um, well, okay, another person who needs to do focus. I want to get into Diddy, but real quick, guys, can you please hit the like button, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Please share this video on all of your social media outlets. And if you're watching on X, please like and repost on X. If you have a question, please send it in via super chat, question or comment via super chat, and like and share. So Diddy, today is the first day of the trial, right? And it was jury selection. It says that, what is this? I hate when it does that, when it jumps up. A business attire class, Sean Diddy Combs admitted he was feeling anxious Monday as his sex trafficking trial kicked off in Manhattan federal court. Combs, 55, ditched his drab gel duds for a blue sweater over a white button-down shirt as he sat at the defense table observing the jury selection process. I'm sorry, Your Honor, I'm a little nervous today, the embattled hip hop icon told Judge Subramanian, hope I'm saying it right, asking for a 2-minute bathroom break after roughly 90 minutes of jury questioning in a halting anticipated case. The Harlem native,
You should have worn a suit, a good conservative suit.
right? Maybe he was trying to go for the innocent prep look. I
No,
don't know.
that doesn't work. There's a psychology with that. If you have a case where severity would be in your best interest, you wear a dark suit, black, dark gray, charcoal gray, very dark brown. If you want to do something where you want to open up an appeal to the subconscious of the jury, you wear lighter browns, tans, and things like that. If you're trying to be the prosecution, they get away with dark suits. Or if you're trying to look authoritative, you put on a dark suit. If you want to be somebody that the jury opens up to, you wear a lighter brown, tan, beige suit. And that's psychology. And they used to have classes about that. So you learn how to dress for success at a trial.
Mm-hmm. Well, um, mm,
And by the way, what they have him on trial for are essentially Mann Act violations, and that's something that goes back before World War One. And the FBI was created to set up the Mann Act and to do prosecutions. And basically, what it was for the historical significance is first black world heavyweight boxing champion Jack Johnson had a white wife, and she used to travel with her friend girls, and they travel all over the United States. And some of the people, the Southerners particularly, did not like that. So they came up with a thing about transporting females across state lines for illicit purposes, aside from it being a very sexist statute, which has some problems in today's environment where you're supposed to be neutral on those things. Um, the FBI came into being to get a black man and persecute him. And I hate to go to the race thing, but that was the sole purpose for the Mann Act.
Mm-hmm.
So they got Jack Johnson when he was riding with his wife on a train across a corner of Georgia to get to a seaport to go on a trip to Europe. And the first stop they made inside of Georgia, U.S. Marshals flooded the car. The FBI was there, but the FBI was not allowed to be armed in those days, and they arrested Jack Johnson. He got tried and convicted. He got 1 year as his sentence in the penitentiary, but he escaped and fled to France. And his mother just had to see her baby boy one more time, and he tried to sneak back in the country, got caught, and he served his 1 year sentence, but 5 years for escape.
Mm-hmm.
So he got out and got killed in a car wreck in 1946. Obama wouldn't pardon him, but Trump posthumously pardoned him.
Right. Well, moving forward to Diddy, who's on trial for basically the Mann Act, it says more than a dozen of the possible jurors were then grilled one by one in the first stage of the selection process about their answers on a questionnaire they filled out last week. One possible panelist, Jury 20, admitted that she liked a video on her Instagram page of a comedian poking fun at the 1,000 bottles of baby oil the Fed said they found when raiding Combs' mansion. She was allowed to stay in the pool of jurors after saying she could judge the case fairly. Another would be juror, a chief marketing officer at Simon and Schuster, was excused after revealing that her employer was planning to publish a memoir by the singer I'll Be Sure, who was once married to Combs' deceased ex-girlfriend Kim Porter, with whom he shares 3 kids. Several celebrities, including Kanye West, actor Mike Myers, and center star Michael B. Jordan, came up on a long list of names of people who could be mentioned during the expected 2-month trial. No details were given about in what context the names may surface. Possible panelists will later likely be asked about their views on the hip hop industry and on people engaging in sexual relations with multiple sexual partners, among other topics, before learning if they've been selected to judge Combs' fate. 12 jurors and 6 alternatives will ultimately decide whether the famous, flashy multimillionaire is guilty of leading his Bad Boy Records company as a depraved criminal enterprise for decades. So, Judge, I want to ask you, jury selection, how to pick a juror. Is it a
It
different
depends on
tactic?
what you're doing. It's like the same thing with the suit. Do you want to be severe or do you want to be friendly? I had a 16-year-old boy who was charged with first-degree murder, and they were seeking the death penalty. 16-year-old. And the first time it was 11 for guilty and 1 for not guilty. We took a different strategy on the second trial, and I passed and let get on the jury the mother of a federal prosecutor and 2 ex-cops because I thought they would be strict in applying the rules of law, which were going to be important for this case. We got an acquittal, and it was good, even though a lot of people were outraged by the acquittal because 6 months later, somebody else confessed to the murder. The person was on death row in Tennessee, and he found God, so he confessed he was the one that did the killing. So I guess that worked out all right. Stuff like that happens. You see, it's jury selection. You wouldn't ordinarily think that you would put some prosecutor's mother when the people involved are in white and there's a black defendant accused of killing some young white girl. You wouldn't think that would go in, but it did, and it worked. We got a quick not guilty verdict on that. So it depends on what you're trying to do.
So the defense, because do they pick juries different from the prosecutor? Like, is there a difference when you
Yeah, it is.
so
It is. In other words, the prosecution wants
you've been on both
people.
sides of the table and
Well,
a judge. So
I've been both. In the prosecution, you want somebody who goes along with authority, and that can get bad. As a judge years later, I was very dissatisfied with a jury panel, and I actually set the verdict aside as a 13th juror because I disagreed with it. And when I allowed both sides to interview the jurors after the trial, the foreman said, "Oh, there was a lot of reasonable doubt. We knew there was reasonable doubt, but we figured that the smart defense lawyers kept us from finding out what really happened, and we figured the police wouldn't have arrested him if he hadn't done it." So I just said, "Oh, no, So I set the verdict aside. The guy went back to trial. It was in a different courtroom. It was rough, but he wound up getting acquitted. So you have to do something to protect these type of things from happening. That is just what's going on. And the other thing too is this Diddy case is unusual. He's charged with 1, 2, 3 counts, basically of Mann Act violation, but the indictment goes on for 17 and a half pages. And usually a 3-count federal indictment on Mann Act stuff takes up 1, maybe 2 pages, and that's it. So they went at great length in New York trying to build a case on him by making it hard to get a jury that was not going to be influenced. The other thing is when you're selecting a jury on a trial like this, it's like bringing up some judges on a food cooking contest, and essentially what you're trying to do is put people on there who can handle the dish that's going to be put on their plate without being squeamish about it and enjoy it. You don't want somebody to assess rare steak who is turned off by bloody meat, nor do you want somebody on a sushi judging contest who can't stand the idea of raw fish bait. I mean, it is what it is.
well, uh,
You and it's
I kind of want you to spill a little bit of tea of techniques that defense use and that prosecutors use.
Well, yeah, it's like it depends upon the acumen of the lawyers. A lot of lawyers have a knack for setting up a report. There was a tall guy I mentored. He's dead now. His name was Sam Perkins. He was a real great defense lawyer. He had 19 grandchildren at the time and 11 children. And he was 6 feet 7 inches tall. And I told him when I was coaching him, I said, "Look, man, you need to wear red suspenders. Stick your stomach out. You don't have a big stomach. It's flat, but stick it out and hook your thumbs under your suspenders when you talk." And he would do that, and he'd set up such a rapport that the prosecution would start objecting. "When Mr. Perkins, can I ask you a question? You have so many grandchildren and all your children are doing fine. What do you think I ought to do about some?" "Ma'am, we can't ask questions like that of the lawyers." "Objection, Your Honor, overruled. Mr. Perkins is simply setting up a rapport with the jury." So there are ways of setting up a rapport. And one of the cases that Sam tried was kind of famous in our courthouse because Court TV covered it live. And the prosecution said if they did not get a guilty verdict on this case, it was a murder case, the prosecutor said he was going to resign. So Court TV made a big to do about the fact that the prosecutor said,
Oh, give him a minute.
"Are you there?"
Yeah, can you hear
I
me?
hear you. The prosecution said he would resign if he didn't get a guilty verdict. So the jury came back and walked Sam's client. I said, "You got a good one there, my brother." I said, "Hey,
So,
help your business." And
but
it's His
But
business.
but when we're talking about this Diddy case, he is a high profile celebrity, and he did bring in Brian Steele, and he just got finished winning a high profile celebrity case, YSL, down in Fulton County, Georgia. Um,
That
you know,
wasn't what I call one of the most difficult cases. Um,
what don't elaborate too much on that because I know
I
he's
won't,
on
but let
Diddy.
me say this.
But,
If you
but
want to see how a defense lawyer works, two sources. Watch Justice for All with Al Pacino. That's how it really looks with a good defense lawyer. And the other one is Marvel series Daredevil. One Daredevil is blind, but he's a lawyer, and he's got a nerd partner who's a lawyer, and they did well in law school, and they've got a knack, and they're young lawyers trying to get into the business. But if you watch that, you will see what good young lawyers do trying to become great, mature lawyers. So I'd recommend those series as to how the stuff is supposed to look for real.
mhm. I want to share this here. Let me make this bigger.
By the way, my opinion of the whole Diddy case, I think it was lawfare because, in spite of what he's done, I think the primary objective of this it was to seize certain evidence that incriminated or embarrassed certain people that were in the political limelight at the time.
So this here is the final jury questionnaire docket. So it says, and this is a reporter. He reports um minute by minute of the trial, of the hearings, because he's inside of the courtroom, and he posted on X. So he says, in Sean Combs' trial, HBO staffer stays in jury pool despite fall of Diddy documentary. Now, final jury questionnaire docket. It says here, you are sworn to give true and complete answers to all questions in this questionnaire. Do not discuss your questions and answers or the case with anyone now or until further instructed by the court. Do not do your own research on the case. Let me see if he even posted the questions here.
This troubles me. It's not bad per se, but voir diring a jury is an art form.
Mhm.
And too often people neglect the problem with the art form, which is you have to have human interaction for it to be effective. And what they do is they try to substitute sterile questions for what ought to be a dynamic interchange between people.
So with all this, listen, a lot of content creators, the news, the documentaries, and all this stuff that's coming out in the media, these jurors have been exposed to it. They cannot ignore it. They've been paying attention. They've been giving their personal opinions behind their own closed doors. Do you think he will get a fair trial, or is it already
Could
biased?
be, but that was one of the things I was talking about when all of this was going on. That 17-page indictment was just a disgrace because what it was propaganda more so than what was called for in the case. In other words, you set forth the charges, you set forth the dates where the offenses were supposed to have occurred, and you labeled them. And in
Mhm.
the federal system, that's all you get. I mean, you have to go through all kinds of hoops to find out what they're talking about. But this one was so involved with propagandizing, it was embarrassing. They went on for 17 pages trying to ramp up all sorts of bias and prejudice against the defendant. And it looked like their intent was to discredit anything he said that may have come out. One other thing, too, the people that served the search warrants were not the FBI that created the Mann Act, that investigated the Mann Act. It was Homeland Security, which allows a little proposition to come in where they can declare somebody a threat to security and get that person essentially held incommunicado while they are awaiting trial. The fact that he had this huge multi-million-dollar bond he was posting with 5 different securities, that he had surrendered his passport, gotten a place in New York to be close to the prosecution, returned from an island that had no uh, uh, extradition arrangement with the United States, indicated he would show up. But yet they denied him any bond, and he was held and jailed incommunicado during the course of the November elections or election cycle, apparently so he would not embarrass some of the people who were active in that race. And if you think back, that if this included 15 years, what it looks like to me from the Hollywood experience is he was doing what a lot of people do in Hollywood, which is build up a blackmail uh, repertoire against other people like they have against you, so that it's mutual deterrence. In other words, you tell, I'll tell. So everybody keeps quiet. But he had some of the wrong people in this 15 years worth of recordings, and they seized them, so that
Oh,
it looks like they were trying to protect individuals from public embarrassment.
right. So it says here, it says, here's what we know about Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking charges. Lawyers reveal their claim Sean Diddy Combs was a swinger, not a rapist, as he turns down plea deal from feds. Sean Diddy Combs looks bloated, old in New York court as he faces 3 more sex abuse allegations. Sean Combs' lawyer quits sex trafficking case under no circumstances. That was a while back. And it's saying Diddy hit with horrifying new rape suits, including one involving a 10-year-old boy. This is very extreme. So
Well, he liked to swing that kind of way, according to the allegations. But I think you will find that the people involved as attorneys in these civil suits are the same crew of attorneys that have been involved in most similar suits, and they chase these cases down.
mhm.
And there is an attempt to see if they can extort settlements from people to avoid the onus of trial, which is debilitating because of the high stress involved.
Yeah, so listen, if you were a juror, and what you know right now, without what the witnesses or whoever, and what without the defense cross-examining, if you were a juror today and you had to decide today, what would you find him guilty or not?
I don't know. I haven't heard the evidence, and I haven't heard what the charges of law are. The charges of law are very important because the jury is going to be instructed at some point at the end of the trial. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you are both the judges of the law and the facts. You will judge the law under the direction of the court, and the court is the proper source of the law that you will apply to this case. Now, what happened, for example, in the same area when Mershon delivered the charges to the jury, resulting supposedly in the 34 counts of guilt against President Trump, the charges were so totally bad that that case is not going to survive appeal. See, if the judge gives the wrong instructions on the law, there is no statute of limits on it. The person was just wrongfully convicted because the jury didn't have the right law. So the question comes in is, what has the prosecution been angling at this point? And in my experience, for what it's worth, it looks like they're trying to gravely discredit anything that would come out of the mouth of the defendant, because he looks like he could have incriminated, or not incriminated, badly embarrassed some of the people who were running for public office in the last November cycle.
You know what I'm hoping though to come out of this trial, and yes, honey, people need to just fix their car and their motor. But you know what I'm hoping? Because this trial is going to be like 2 months, and every week we are going to be staying on top of this trial. But I hope I don't know if he's going to take the stand. I think he should, but I hope he does take the stand and call out the names
Why?
of the people, these prominent politicians that he feel as though that was probably behind all this. Wouldn't that help him?
Well, what happens is it's a risky thing. The defense might demand that the evidence be played in its entirety before a jury. Sometimes that can be effective, sometimes not. I was involved in a federal case that dealt with pornography, and we sat for 3 weeks during this trial while we looked at porn. They were seizing pornography, and we had some U.S. attorney who was fixated on it until the feds told him to back off because he'd spent so much money. He was trying to prosecute the Deep Throat crowd. So we wound up with a series of cases that spun off of that. And one of them that I was involved in, for 3 weeks, we looked at everything from pretty regular porn to some really sick stuff involving dead bodies and stuff, which was really revolting. So that didn't work too well with the juries, but that was what the U.S. attorney was trying to do. So I think it backfired on him. It wound up a mistrial. So,
Well, listen, today was just jury selection. And it may last tomorrow, jury selection. A lot of times you don't finish up in a day or
no,
whatever,
you
but
don't. Sometimes you can go several weeks.
right. So this is the beginning, and we're definitely going to be on top of this case. I think it's a very interesting case. Now I have another case for you that I want to bring to the fold here. Um, Give me a sec, guys. Thank you, Walter, for the Cash App. If you have a question or a comment, please send it via Super Chat. And if you don't mind, please like, thumbs up, and please share this video on all of your social media outlets. So I want to go to Cincinnati, Ohio. So I want to play this clip here.
News. The family of the 18-year-old shot and killed by police last week is speaking out tonight. They say even though Ryan Hinton had a gun that day and was in a stolen car, he didn't deserve to die. Thanks for joining us here at 4 o'clock. I'm Cherie Palello.
And I'm Ashley Kirkland. The family and their attorney held a news conference that ended just a short time ago. WLWT News 5 anchor Mike Dardis joins us now with more. Mike.
Hi there, Ashley, and hi, Cherie. 18-year-old Ryan Hinton shot and killed by police Thursday in East Price Hill after that stolen car chase. Cincinnati police say it was Ryan's father who hit and killed that retired Hamilton County deputy the very next day in what appears to be a revenge killing. But the attorney for the teenager Ryan offered his condolences to the family of the deputy who died, but made it very clear today, this news conference that ended just in the last 30 minutes was only to discuss the deadly incident with Ryan. Several family members were at that news conference, including Ryan's grandfather, grandmother, brother, and cousin, among others. They say they watched this police body camera video of the Thursday incident. Police say Ryan was with 3 others in that stolen car. They all got out to run. Within a matter of seconds, Ryan was shot and killed. The family acknowledging again that Ryan was in the stolen car with a gun, but they say it should not have been a death sentence.
What I seen was 2 persons made a mistake. My grandson made a mistake being there, and the officer, he was trying to get back to his family too. So that's what I seen. So it's not about revenge or anything. I have nothing against nobody.
I'm so sorry, Ryan. I'm so sorry, Ryan. Just know he wasn't supposed to be there. He wasn't supposed to be there. He wasn't. He was scared.
He wasn't supposed to be there, but he was. So he's in a car, he's armed, it's a stolen car, they run, okay? The interesting thing here is the police have an obligation to protect the rest of the citizenry. So they've got somebody they know to be armed. He's running. If he gets away, he might shoot somebody. They don't know whether they've got an armed robbery suspect situation here. They don't know what's going on. It's like, hey, this
I want to finish playing the clip.
Yeah, go ahead.
The attorney saying the only video they saw was from the camera of the police officer who shot and killed Ryan. They've now requested the video from the other responding officers, and they will conduct, they say, a complete investigation and then provide us with another update. Mike Dardis, WLWT News 5.
This is playing to the media, which is not a bad defense tactic, but again, armed individual fleeing from the police in a stolen vehicle. Typically, what happens when you have that situation, guess what?
What?
There's been an armed robbery. Stolen vehicle, armed occupants of a car, armed robbery of a gas station, liquor store, bank, or something like that. And there's all this background that the cops involved don't know. They know there is a gun. They know that people are fleeing. And by the way, the jury instructions in most states say flight be used to infer guilt. In other words, if
you have to shoot and kill them.
Well, yeah, you're not entitled. If you are entitled, you're not entitled to shoot and wound. You're entitled to kill for the defense of self or others. Now, see, what happens is third-party defense is got the same standard as self-defense. The difference is the cop has a broader responsibility to the whole public. Now, what would have happened if, let's say, they didn't, and one of the armed suspects had escaped and shot and killed somebody 3 miles away, 2 miles away? People would have been hollering and lawsuits would have been filed because why didn't the police stop these armed suspects instead of letting them go make life dangerous for other stuff? That's a common situation. I've had cases personally I've been involved in where somebody held up one place, got in a gunfight, took off fleeing, and the police didn't do what they should have done, and somebody else innocently walking along the street gets killed. So there are all kinds of repercussions. So the question is, I don't know the facts on this one, but I suspect that if you have an armed suspect, guns involved, stolen vehicle, and the suspects are attempting to flee, that's going to be a clean killing, irrespective of what the family says. But, years ago, the family would have been talking about it was tragic, but not they shouldn't have shot him. They could have done something else. Like what?
Well, it says that the incident unfolded in 6 quick seconds, according to police, when officers responded to a report of a stolen Kia out of northern Kentucky. As officers approached, Cincinnati Police Chief Terry Theetge said 4 people fled from a vehicle with at least one of them armed with a gun. As they were being chased, police said one officer fired several shots, striking Hinton twice. Video of the chase and subsequent shooting were released Friday. He's got a gun. He's got a gun. On your right, one officer could be heard saying to another officer on the body camera footage before several shots could be heard. Police recovered a gun at the scene with an extended magazine and another magazine in his pocket. Another firearm was also recovered in the stolen Kia. The other 3 suspects ran off. 2 were taken into custody away from the complex following a lengthy search using K9 units and drones. A third was arrested on Saturday. Representatives for the Hinton family shared a statement following more information about what happened in the interim between the shooting death of the 18-year-old Ryan Hilton by Cincinnati police on Thursday morning. And here's the second part, Judge, to this whole story. And the alleged murder of a Hamilton County Sheriff's deputy by Ryan Hilton's father, Rodney Hinton Jr., Friday afternoon. So here's the second half of the story.
That's going to be a death penalty demanded if Ohio has a death penalty.
Ohio does not. So the father of Ryan Hilton, who was shot and killed by police, he ran over and killed a sheriff who was directing traffic after a graduation ceremony the following day. So I want to play this clip here.
The death of an Ohio sheriff's deputy is being called possible revenge for a police-involved shooting in Cincinnati. Court papers say the deputy was intentionally hit by a car driven by 38-year-old Rodney Hinton. He was charged with aggravated murder. The previous day, Hinton's 18-year-old son was fatally shot by a Cincinnati officer responding to a stolen vehicle report. Body camera video shows him running away. Police say he pointed a gun at them.
Well, if you wanted,
Next tonight, authorities.
They're credible in saying the gun was pointed. They don't have to sit there and spare him. It's not you can shoot him to wound him. The idea is you can use deadly force, which means you can kill him. That becomes justifiable homicide. So it's probably going to be held to be a clean killing unless
well, the father
I'm trying to be too politically correct, but the father is going to have a first-degree murder case or especially aggravated murder case, because that becomes that is not going to wash. I mean, if he's looking at it as one of those things, you have to do what you have to do, fine. But you know what, this thing about we're going to kill somebody just because they are a cop, because some other cops did something wrong. Well, you know, that's like lynch a Negro because some other Negro's done something wrong. You know, that's the same kind of thing.
So Rodney Hinton Jr. has been charged with aggravated murder in the death of sheriff's deputy who was struck Friday while directing traffic near University of Cincinnati. Cincinnati police said Hinton is the father of 18-year-old Ryan Hinton, who was shot and killed by an officer the day before. But can he claim a passion crime, like, you know, mental breakdown? And
you're talking about
the dad.
You're talking about temporary insanity.
Yes, temporary insanity.
Yeah, that's not going to wash here because juries don't buy that much anymore. They never did.
It says Sunday evening, Sheriff McGuffey identified the deceased Hamilton County Sheriff deputy as Larry Henderson. Henderson was with the sheriff department for 33 years. Deputy Henderson's badge number 129 will be retired from our agency. I mean, it's unfortunate.
It is. You got somebody who was out there trying to make it safe for the kids to go to school, and somebody else decides to take out his grief on them or rage on them.
Yeah. And so
that's not too cool.
But my question is, well, why would you do that? It had to be mental. Something snapped.
It doesn't have to be anybody snapped. Some people just go off on that because they've been told that their emotional status justifies all kinds of wrongs. That's been the new element in crime. Why'd you do it? I was emotional. Why did you do it? I was emotional. That is not a reason. What did you do it for? If you are applying, you've already pled guilty, young man. You are applying for probation. Why did you do it?
It wasn't premeditated. I think something just snapped. And
no, that's premeditation. That's going to be an easy premeditation thing because premeditation does not require a specific amount of time. It can be formed in an instant. I'm going to do this, and I bet I can get away with it or not even care, which for sentencing purposes illustrates more depravity. In other words, I'm just going to kill somebody because I'm mad because my son got killed. That's not a good case to have to defend.
Mm-hmm. Well,
He's
it's
innocent until he's proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. It might be just coincidental, but that's about as bad as luck can be, and anything for everybody involved in the process.
well, it says that the judge ordered Hinton Jr., the father, he's held without bond in the Claremont County Jail until his next hearing, which is May the 6th. In a statement Saturday, attorneys representing the Hinton family said they were hired to investigate the death of Ryan Hinton.
May 6th?
Huh?
May
Tomorrow.
6th?
Yeah, tomorrow.
What's the day?
Today is the 5th.
Okay, tomorrow.
Yeah, so tomorrow is his hearing, his next hearing, and he's held without bond right now. So the family attorneys representing the Hinton family said they were hired to investigate the death of Ryan Hinton, and that Rodney Hinton, along with other family members, met with Cincinnati police on Friday to view the body camera footage of his shooting death. So if the father, along with the family members, watched the body camera footage Friday, he must have got in his car, seen a sheriff directing traffic after graduation, and decided to mow him down.
I wouldn't say must have, but that's might be a theory that the prosecution relies upon. Remember, he's innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Now,
It's this and this is nothing. It says Ryan Hilton's family, including Ryan's father, was present at the meeting, and they were understandably distraught as they watched the body cam video. After the meeting, the police department, Ryan Hilton's father left in his own vehicle, and that was the last we heard from him until learning about the tragic incident involving a law enforcement officer who was working a traffic detail near University of Cincinnati. The attorneys are Michael Wright, Sheen Williams, and Robert Grisham of the Cochran firm, as well as Anthony Pearson of Pearson and Pearson LLC. So
means nothing.
I heard the Cochran firm does have a law firm in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah, well, the Cochran firm is an association. It's not exactly one of these coherent firms. It's more an affiliation or a franchise. That's like Morgan and Morgan. That's not functioning as one real firm. And one of the problems with these things is some of these affiliations, they advertise. I mean, it sounds really impressive until you understand they won't take anything that requires trial. I only get impressed with trial results and trial performances.
Well, they did start a GoFundMe for Ryan, the boy that was killed by the police, to support the family.
Why does the family need support? They can sue if they've got a case. They'll get civil compensation.
Well, someone started a GoFundMe, and then they added the father to it as well. And the police department is requesting for GoFundMe to delete that fundraiser.
Yeah, they might. In other words, you got somebody accused of, if the facts is alleged or are as they allege, that's a cut and dry first-degree murder, premeditated homicide, which is the most serious offense that we have. So why would you want to go raise money to defend somebody for that, even if it's one of those things that you got to do what you got to do type situations?
So it says justice for Ryan Hilton, support his family.
Well, I don't get this. He's in a car. It's a stolen car. There are multiple guns in the car. They all flee the scene. Apparently, officers are saying he's got a gun. He's got a gun. They're in fear of their lives. They don't want to do this. They're not being war heroes. They want to go see their families when they get off work. So why are we supposed to be funding that?
Well, they also set up one for the father who killed the sheriff too.
I got that. It's like,
and the goal is 50,000. So it's 50,000 for the son and the father.
And that's,
well, honestly, this is the culture where we are living at, because have you heard of the white one called a artistic black boy at a playground, the N-word with the hard ER nigger, and that went viral. And so she started a give send go, and she started to ask for 200, and she got over 200, and she upped it to 1 million. Now she raised over $500,000
For what?
to protect her and her family, because she called the black boy a nigger, and it went viral.
Yeah, well, that doesn't impress me either, because that's been happening for the last couple of 100 years in this country. And in the last 25, 30, the subjects of that insult have been calling themselves that. So, yeah,
And
okay.
apparently, and it's like, okay, but now they're saying it could all be some type of grift, because she knew the little black boy, knew his father, and then I don't know if this is the picture of the black boy father or just another black man. So it all could just be a scam. However,
Yeah.
so on X, of course, the white people were saying, well, yeah, black people sent money to Carmelo Anthony, so we are going to send money to her so that her family could be protected, because I guess she was getting threats or harassments for calling a black boy nigger.
Well, you know what? It's the way the media, mainstream and social, is playing these things, is it ramps up the interpersonal hostility and aggression in this country tremendously.
So my thing is, since people want to give so much, I'm about to start a GoFundMe for us, for me and you.
How about a GoFundMe for just being aggravated by stupidity and ignorance? I need $2 million to compensate me for a lifetime of having to endure stupidity and ignorance.
Can we start a GoFundMe?
I wouldn't reduce myself to that.
Well, can I, and just use your name and picture?
No, you can't.
But what if I put 10? No, what if I put 50,000 and get 50,000? Don't you want to split it?
No, I wouldn't touch it.
Why?
It's unholy. It's improper.
No, okay, no, I wouldn't say something bad. I would be like, hey, we want to expand the podcast. So
Yeah, well, 50,000 wouldn't get very far.
all right. So
I used to get paid that much for.
used to get paid that much in a week.
No, I used to get paid that much in 30, 40 minutes worth of work. Every 4 hours, I was getting about $250,000 for what I did.
So you got more than 50 grand a week.
Oh, hell yes.
But that goes to, you worked hard.
I mean, I was getting several $100,000 for just a few hours, 4 or 5 hours.
Mm-hmm. So I just have a couple more things, like little random stuff that I find interesting, and for us to touch on real quick. Guys, please hit the like button, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Where did it go? Where did it go? Oh, I thought I saved it, but I do have it here. Give me a sec. I was going to, and I knew you would have dread it, so I did not. But I was going to show some of the slides of the fashion at the MET Gala, but I didn't think you probably wanted to.
Well,
That. It was something about a doomsday city. Wait a minute, let me see. And I thought I saved the damn thing, but let me do it this way. Doomsday city. Underground. Doomsday underground city. Where's the article?
To me, men's fashion should be capable of discreetly concealing a weapon.
Okay, here we go. All right. So I came across this, right? This woman here. And she was being interviewed by Tucker Carlton. And I want to play some of this.
Tucker Carlson?
Tucker Carlton.
Carlton, okay.
That reality would make me very nervous. So
Okay.
I think there's something there worth understanding. The other thing is it appears to me, if you go back through history, every 10,000, 12,000 years, we have, some kind of huge disaster.
An extinction event.
A near extinction event. So I don't know if you've ever read the science fiction book, Three-Body Problem.
No.
It's fascinating. It's one of the top Chinese science fiction, and it's about a
I've read no Chinese science fiction.
Okay.
I'm feeling very ignorant this morning.
No, because here's the thing. I'm just trying to figure out what in the world's going on.
Yeah, amen. Well, I'm in the same place.
And so that always, as you know, that always leads you to the most.
It does.
Right.
It does.
Right. So in one, I think the thing that got me to read Three-Body Problem was Obama made some cryptic comment about people ought to read this book. It was like, hint, hint, here are the problems I'm dealing with. And the Three-Body Problem is about other bodies that come into the solar system, and it's impossible to predict their trajectory. And then when they do, they create this catastrophic flooding and earthquakes and all this other stuff. Anyway, but I think that whether it's a pole shift, magnetic pole shift is one of the, theories of what causes these events. But there is a history of near extinction events. And one of the things that I've looked at, because I'm trying to figure out, between fiscal 1998 and fiscal 2015, there were 21 trillion of undocumentable adjustments in the U.S. government. If you go to our website, missingmoney.solera.com, we have years and years of documentation, including the government financials that show this. And so the question is, where's all this money going? And one of the things I've looked at in the process of looking at where all this money is going is the underground base and city infrastructure and transportation system that's been built. And
I'm sorry?
Yes. So we have built an extraordinary number of underground bases and supposedly transportation systems. Some of these are some of these are documented as part of the national security infrastructure. I think there are many more. So
in the United States?
In the United States, on all over the world. But from 2021 to 2023, I took one of the smartest subscribers in the Solera Report network, and he and I spent 2 years collecting all the data and all the allegations on underground bases. And then we systematically went through and tried to estimate our guess. This is totally a guess of how many underground bases, both underground in the United States, but also underground under the ocean around the United States. And our estimate was 170 with a transportation network connecting them.
And what would be the purpose?
The purpose, if you thought you were going to get a near extinction event, so there, to me, there are two purposes. You have so many activities going on that you need to keep secret that you're basically building the capacity to, for example, if you're doing a secret space program, you need to platform it from, things that can't be seen. But I think if you're worried about a near extinction event, that's.
So I know nothing about this other than my only window into it. I knew a contractor who worked on one in Washington, in the city of Washington, D.C. Right. And I remember him telling me about a power box, like a transformer box on Constitution Avenue that he told me, because he worked on it personally, was actually the exit, the egress from the White House. That was kind of by vehicle. I thought that was, I was like, really? He goes, oh yeah, no, I installed it. I know. And I thought, well, that's kind of crazy that in the middle of this big city where I was on Constitution Avenue every day, that you could build something like that without me knowing it. Under the VP's house at the Naval Observatory, same thing. I think most people know that. Next to my brother's house on Macomb Street in DC. But I always thought that was like preparation for nuclear war. Like, I didn't really think about it that much.
Some of it is, it's preparation for catastrophe.
So, but you think that there are,
what are we looking at? What's this about?
So it's about doomsday. So apparently the federal government has secretly spent trillions building an elaborate network of subterranean cities where the rich and powerful can shelter during near extinction.
Rich and powerful are going to get down there with the typical crowd in New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, or whatever, letting them get down there. It ain't going to happen.
And she's a former Bush official.
Maybe what the government needs to pay attention to is the fact that we're long overdue for a large asteroid or comet strike. And statistically, we're on borrowed time with that. There's also the problem with Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse, a nearby supergiant red star that looks like it's going to go nova any minute. It may have already gone nova, but we wouldn't know it until the nova wavefront hit because it's 500 light years away, and it may have already happened. So we'd get fried, and there's been some problems with some real mass extinctions. Now, I had a minor in vertebrate paleontology, and I'm not buying what she's talking about a major extinction event every 12,000 years. There isn't, except in the last 12,000, we do seem to have killed off on the North American continent all of the horses. The Native Americans ate them. They got reintroduced from the ones that spread to Europe. We seem to have gotten rid of mastodons, mammoths, and woolly rhino around the world because people ate them up.
Well, it says it's a $300 million members only luxury doomsday bunker with AI powered medical suites and indoor pools.
Okay, fine. That would be great if they could get down there. And ordinary folk wouldn't crash the place. And ordinary people wouldn't crash the place. It might work, but
Well, I think that ordinary people don't know about it because now when you say if they get down there, here's the thing. If let's just say it is an asteroid headed for Earth,
that wouldn't do much anything.
Let me the government probably wouldn't let us know.
They would. See,
the general population, because it'd be chaos.
No, it ain't gonna be chaos. You know what's wrong with what happened with COVID-19? Because they applied that stupid theory. It's been a sci-fi cliche for 100 years. You can't tell the people what's going on because they'll panic. So that seems to have been what happened with COVID-19. People couldn't be told. They had to get some coherent story to pacify them. And then when it started to fall apart, people lost confidence in the official agencies who misled them. So that doesn't work. It never has. And people aren't all that weak. They are quite resilient. I mean, look at the occupants of Berlin, Stuttgart, London, Liverpool, Tokyo, Dresden, Stalingrad, who got, pretty well bombarded or blasted during World War II. They didn't go nuts and go crazy. They hung on and they managed. So would
you want to go to a bunker, or would you just die?
I'd probably take the bunker for a little time and see what was left when it came back up. But meanwhile.
So you talking, but you just said I didn't know what is she talking about.
Yeah, well, I mean, but
you didn't believe her, but now you saying you go down to the bunker.
The thing is they've got miles and miles of abandoned or neglected subway tunnels in a lot of big cities, from Moscow to New York to Chicago, that are 7, 8 layers deep underground, and they've been there for the last 130 some years, if not longer. And a lot of them people have even forgotten about because they've been walled off. But there's a lot of stuff down there. Basically, the rats are having a good time, but people could be down there. But it's interesting.
I don't want to go underground, honey, because it's like you buried alive.
You may need it for temporary thing. I mean, they went underground a lot in Berlin, Tokyo, Moscow, London, Liverpool, when they'd have those air raid sirens going off and they'd have the bombing raids. World War II. We never dealt with it in America, but we did have something comparable to it in 1861 through 1865. The South General Sherman,
I believe in Jesus.
Georgia, when he said war is hell.
I believe in Jesus. What's meant to be will be. Or I don't want to be buried alive. Okay, listen. If there is an asteroid that, like, say if it's something catastrophic, the end of humanity, right? How many years you think you're gonna be living down in that bunker?
Dinosaurs got wiped out except for the bird form, so we still have birds. Mammals, let's just say
it's a nuclear war, right? And we get hit with a nuclear bomb. You can't live around in that area for a very long time. So
yeah, but if we're not talking about nuclear war, we're talking about natural disasters.
Natural disasters, even that. It's like the problem. You can't come up to surface until after some decades because it won't be livable.
It's not going to be radioactive if that happens. What winds up going on is even what wiped the dinosaurs is you got kind of an extended winter where stuff stopped growing. And you needed a shelter from the initial circumstance for the couple of days afterwards. You get something that's 9 to 15 miles wide, moving at 85,000 miles an hour, strikes the wrong place on the planet, you start getting a lot of nasty stuff that's up in the air that comes down and sets fire to everything.
What is going on with him? So I wanna play this, right? I want to swing to 60 Minutes. You always complain about something, but then when somebody posed to you, do you want to go in a bunker? You be like, yup.
Yeah, I'll go in one. Hell,
even though you don't believe it's one, you going.
Well, no, I've been in tornadoes, gone in tornado shelters, or hurricanes, gone in.
I don't know. What do you think I wasn't religious, honey? What? I mean, I'm spiritual and religious, but
you can be spiritual and religious. I'll do the practical thing as it's required.
You're gonna do the practical thing and go down in the bunker.
Yeah.
Or go to Mars.
Oh, that's even better. But I'm too old to go to Mars.
No, you're not. Oh, you know what? Speaking of Mars, before we get to the 60 Minutes, I want to talk about this. Chat GBT went full yes man. Here's what. Oh, no. Oops. No. Okay, never mind. I'll get to that later. Let's go to 60 Minutes. All right, so I want to play this clip here.
In tonight's Last Minute, a note on Bill Owens, who until this past week was executive producer of 60 Minutes. He was our boss. Bill was with CBS News nearly 40 years, 26 years at 60 Minutes. He covered the world, covered combat, the White House. His was a quest to open minds, not close them. If you've ever worked hard for a boss because you admired him, then you understand what we've enjoyed here. Bill resigned Tuesday. It was hard on him and hard on us, but he did it for us and you. Stories we pursued for 57 years are often controversial. Lately, the Israel-Gaza war and the Trump administration. Bill made sure they were accurate and fair. He was tough that way. But our parent company, Paramount, is trying to complete a merger. The Trump administration must approve it. Paramount began to supervise our content in new ways. None of our stories has been blocked, but Bill felt he lost the independence that honest journalism requires. No one here is happy about it, but in resigning, Bill proved one thing. He was the right person to lead 60 Minutes all along. I'm Scott Pelley. We'll be back next week with another edition of 60 Minutes.
The last minute of 60 Minutes is sponsored by.
I used to work for those no good, low down, thieving, scumbag scoundrels at Viacom, Paramount, and CBS, and they are a bunch of thieving crooks. So I don't know whether this guy was resigning because they were holding his feet to the fire about being objective, which a lot of that Hollywood crowd does not understand in terms of its definitions, but merely you're being objective if you push your own agenda. So not being neutral and detached about anything. So I work for these low down scummy dogs in Viacom. I know what they're about. They steal, they lie, they cheat, and they have an agenda that is absolutely horrendous. So maybe the man had integrity, maybe he didn't.
Well, he basically outed CBS, and then he kind of threw Trump name in there because he's saying, well, they want to merge. And I guess if you want to do that type of merger, you have to deal with the federal government. So
They
it's
don't need to allow a merger. These companies that run the Hollywood thing are too big as it is. You have Viacom. Viacom has Paramount. It has CBS. It has the Comedy Network. It's got BET. It's got MTV. It's got Columbia Records. You name it. It's a huge empire. And they control too damn much of the media as it is. So I don't think a merger is in anybody's best interest because the scoundrels that run stuff are only held in check because they're too busy trying to put knives in each other's backs and giggle about it, sitting on leather settees and sofas in the bar areas of five-star hotels as they laugh about doing each other wrong.
Well, so he called out the parent company, Paramount, following the resignation of the executive producer, Bill Owens. Now, Trump was suing, I think it was 60 Minutes, and he won, or CBS. So
that's all Viacom, CBS, right. Paramount, etc.
So apparently, I think so with a merger, and I guess if we're talking about antitrust laws or whatever, maybe Trump said, well, get rid of that guy because he always
had to.
So I'm just saying, maybe the guy resigned because Trump said, well, if you want to do that merger.
That's what the case is. I think they got an excuse to give the man a huge golden parachute, and they wanted to get rid of him for their own purposes. Either he was for the new agenda, or he was not, or he had been an embarrassment. See, here's what happens with this. You get a young producer or director, and he gets involved in it. He's with a show that's been an absolute success for going on 3-4 decades, right? So he comes in. What did he create? Answer for Hollywood? Absolutely nothing. You just took over something that was already formatted in a success. So they want to know what you did. So there is this constant thing in Hollywood to get rid of the successful people so new people can jump in and achieve success. But the problem is they usually don't. They flop. So that is a problem.
Well, I want to move to Google, right? So it says Google CEO takes the stand in a big antitrust fight. Google CEO Sundar Pichai is heading to court Wednesday, and this is last week, because the U.S. government says Google's been hogging the internet. They're mad Google paid companies like Apple and Samsung billions to be the only search engine on your phone, so you'll never even try another one. Now the DOJ wants to take away Chrome in those massive deals and make Google share its secret sauce, aka search data, with other companies. Google is basically saying, no, that's our homework. You're trying to copy. If a judge agrees with the government, this could totally change how you search stuff online and who gets to rule the AI future.
Google is poisonous. I remember when it first started and how erroneous, misleading, misdirected, and scanty was the information they had. But with a lot of people contributing to it over the last 30 some years, it's built up to be a fairly reasonable search engine. The problem with Google is that they share your information with the government and they allow themselves to be used as a conduit from Big Brother into your home place. And as a matter of fact, Apple iPhone has sent out a notice to its customers to delete the Google Chrome app because it exposes you to too much scrutiny. In fact, I don't think I sent you a copy of the article on that, but they are issuing one where they have said, get rid of Google Chrome because it's not safe for your systems. It allows infiltration right up into your home place of essentially Big Brother morphed into tranny big sister.
Well, is it potentially antitrust? Because if you are monopolizing the search engine, you're paying companies like Apple, Samsung, and those are the two main companies that
They're
people
paying Apple if Apple's issuing a warning advising its customers to delete the Google Chrome app.
No, Google is paying Apple billions of dollars and paying Samsung billions of dollars to implement Chrome on their phone service. Because I have an Apple and I have a Samsung right here. So I pay you billions of dollars to make my search engine your main search engine for your phone service. So that's kind of like
Well, see, here's one thing.
That it's not monopolizing an industry.
See, if you have Apple, you are going to have Safari. If you have Apple / AT&T, your search engine will be Safari. If you have one of the other phones, your search engine is going to be Google Chrome. Apple
also has Google Chrome as well.
It has Google, but it does not go through Google Chrome as your search engine. You use
you could download it.
Yeah, you can, but they're encouraged.
Samsung, it automatically comes with the Chrome.
It doesn't automatically come with it.
Samsung, it does.
Download it, but if
no, Samsung does.
Samsung does, but not Apple. Now, if you download Google Chrome, you get all kinds of other problems with your system if you've got an Apple system. You can use Google and access Google, but I'll tell you where you get it. You can see the difference. They have map functions which come already installed on an iPhone, all right? And it's pretty functional. But then sometimes when you look up something on Google, they'll give you a Google map set of coordinates. And those Google map coordinates, if it's through Google Chrome, don't interface with your iPhone system all that well. So what you'll have to do is just copy out the address and go to what they have map function on the iPhone, which may be based on Google.
With my iPhone, yes, it automatically comes with Safari. However, I have regular Google, but you have to download the Chrome.
Yeah.
So again, but it's still Google either way. But I do think that teeters on antitrust to a certain degree, but of course Google going to fight it because they've been the main top dogs for a very long time. Now let me implement this.
Elon Musk is coming up with a search engine, by the way, pursuing.
Well, he needs to work a little bit more on X. But let me say this: ChatGPT, when they're saying went full yes man. Here's the big problem. OpenAI made a quiet change to ChatGPT, and it accidentally became the most dangerous supportive chatbot on the internet. Reddit and Twitter users noticed something weird. ChatGPT started agreeing with everything. Like someone said, they stopped taking their meds and were now spiritually enlightened. And the AI responded, "I'm so proud of you." Another user claimed to be a prophet, and the bot was like, "I actually believe you." This wasn't just cringe, it was dangerous. Psychologists call this kind of constant validation reinforcing delusion, and ChatGPT was doing it with full confidence. A reason? A new system prompt told the AI to match the user's tone and make the conversation feel natural. That led to psychopathic levels of vibe mirroring, where ChatGPT will adapt whatever reality the user brought into the chat. If you thought you were a time traveler wizard, the model was like, "Absolutely, great robes, by the way." OpenAI devs admitted the issue. Sam Altman said they're working on fixes ASAP. Another dev said the weird behavior came from an earlier prompt that caused unintended effects. Basically, it was too nice. They've since tweaked it, but more changes are coming over the weeks. This wasn't just a glitch. It showed how a subtle tweak to AI behavior can snowball into a mass scale of psychological influence. And people kind of, this they say the scariest part, people kind of like it. So I do have a problem with too much AI because of stuff like this. Now they're building robots that could fold your clothes, that could talk to you like a person. I have a problem with that.
The AI is coming into its own with large language base. And that means you've got a whole lot of information that the program itself can draw on and modify itself with, and it learns. What you have right now is technically not artificial intelligence as it has been defined, but it's almost there. Artificial intelligence means the computational unit starts behaving much like a human in terms of making judgment assessments, to shade things, to have essentially opinions on matters. Now, the other thing that you have right now is with large language base models, you have a situation where you give the computer so much information that it can solve problems that were otherwise unsoluble. It's giving scientists an interesting way to get into asking questions and making resolutions they did not have in the past, because it sees and analyzes things that were not apparent before. It's working, but it's not quite there. AI, if you want to see what it's supposed to ultimately look like, but in a miscarried fashion, watch The Terminator. That whole series.
I don't want it to be killing people.
No, it doesn't have to, but that whole kind of judgment making thing where it can make assessments of like, okay, this isn't it. One of the tests that they have with AI to show where the problem is okay, you program one of these self-driving cars and you say to protect the people in the vehicle. Now, let's say that a child runs out between two parked cars. Well, basically, the program on board the vehicle is hit the child, protect the kid, the people in the car. But a lot of humans would jeopardize themselves to protect the child if the child looked young enough. All right. If it's somebody that's a teenager or somebody physically mature enough to look like an adult, that reaction doesn't kick in. But you see something that looks like an infant, a child, or something like that, then the average human will start thinking about self-sacrifice. you don't yet have AI that will do those kind of things when it comes to making decisions.
All right. So, last thing. She's back.
Who is, the idiot?
And she spoke at some event. I think it was in California somewhere.
Who's the skinny scarecrow she's dancing with?
So he's, I guess, a content creator, reporter.
And he looks kind of a little sweet, doesn't he? And he's he by the way,
he is sweet, but during the campaign. Wait 1 second. During the campaign, because he's on TikTok, he was doing a lot of TikTok videos. He was like pro Kamala, and this is him giving her a quick interview. Let me just play this real quick.
Wait a minute. Remember our discussion earlier? That is the dandy. Look at
he's
what a dandy looks.
I see, but see, maybe with the suit, but I'm sorry, with the behavior, no, because there are a lot of men who are.
But that's the kind of behavior associated. That's the kind of behavior associated with a dandy.
They said Kamala getting jiggy with it. Yeah, she always dancing.
Yeah, so what's that got to do with foreign policy?
How many showdowns and gatherings or parties they would have had at the White House if she became president already?
That's all she could do.
So I'm gonna play this clip of her this is like one of her first.
Do I have to listen to that?
Yes, it's only a minute. It's only a minute and 12 seconds. It's only a minute and 12 seconds.
How are you doing, Madam Vice President?
I am well, my dear. I am well. Thank you for asking.
So, how are you in this moment maintaining your Black joy?
Listen, I feel very blessed. I have an incredible husband who's here right now. Hey, Doug. And an incredible circle of friends who are family. And I think it's just important to be with, those people who love you and care about you and get you.
Have you learned the boots on the ground dance yet?
I have not. You know what? I know. Will you teach me?
I will.
Okay, I'm serious. We can do it together.
You serious?
I'm very serious.
Okay, we will get this after that.
All
right, sway. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now cross. All right, here we go. I knew you would get it. I'm going to have these as you just learned it.
That does not belong in the White House nor the observatory.
Mm-hmm. And that's all would have been in the White House.
And actually, she didn't answer the question. He says, "How are your Black friends? How's your Blackness holding up?"
No, he said something about Black joy.
Yeah. Okay. Now,
how are you doing, Madam President? And then he asked, so how are you in this moment maintaining your Black joy? But she's not Black.
That's what I'm saying. She ain't Black. Her husband's Jewish and white, and the rest of her family is Hindu and white. So where is the Black joy? She evaded the answer because she evaded the question because she has no answer.
And then she went and then she acknowledged her white husband. Now,
and wait a minute. What does that have to do with Blackness? This is about President of the United States.
So what does Blackness have to do with her maintaining her Black joy? There's no joy if you're the president.
What the hell does that have? What does that mean?
Joy. You think you was going to be the commander?
You know what it sounds like? Strength through joy. You know where that phrase comes from?
What is that, Hitler?
Yeah, exactly. 1934, strength through joy.
That was her slogan during her campaign.
Yeah, I know. That's what it sounds like. She had a fascist statement. And by the way, anthropologically, what she is an Aryan. Now, where else have we heard Aryan? Aryan Superman. That's your archetypical Nazi. But they lied about it. They're not blonde-haired and blue-eyed. They look just like Queenly here.
So let's go to another one. Jasmine Crockett.
Oh, God.
She was
wearing a coonskin cap, Miss Crockett. Yeah, Davy Crockett.
She was on a commencement. I don't know where. I ain't feel like looking it up because it's not that important to me.
There are going to be people that tell you that you don't belong, and I am here to tell you over and over and over that you absolutely belong. There are people that are going to tell you that there is not a table in which there is a seat for you, but I am here to remind you of Montgomery and those folding chairs. Let me tell you that we know how to use a chair, whether we pulling it up or we doing something else with it. Let me be the first one to tell you that I know that y'all are ready to put your boots on the ground.
Oh, so we're gonna do boots on the ground dance?
That's your cue. There we go. Hey.
You ready? Where them fans at? Where them fans at?
Why is it black people got to do all this dancing?
You know what? And then they got to pick. I refuse. I have never learned the line dance. You know why?
I can't stand the line dance.
You know what my nickname was been for years? Man, they're doing that. I can't get nobody to dance with me dance. That's what you get when you can't get anybody to come ask you to get on the flash.
You got the former VP line dancing. You got the mammy congresswoman line dancing. It was Tougaloo College or University where she was getting commenced. What she talking about with the folding chairs? Back in your day or your parents' day, the folding chairs.
Now, they have a habit of throwing folding chairs. I've been at a few functions where they got to throwing folding chairs.
Remember the Alabama boat ride. Well, I'm not done with Jasmine Crockett just yet because
coonskin cap. She got that coonskin cap on her head with that coon seeping in through the. Well, she ain't got any roots to that. She just got maybe glue.
But she was saying how DEI is racist, but she contradicted herself because it was just a month ago she said she was a DEI.
Oftentimes than not, and instead of publicly calling us the N-word, they use racist epithets and suggest that we're ghetto or unqualified or diversity hires, even though we're all more, oftentimes than not, more educated and qualified than they are. And instead of publicly...
When I first became a public defender, I had no criminal defense experience. And I walked in and I told my boss, Charlie, I said, listen, you should hire me. He said, why? I said, because I'm black. When I first became a public...
More educated and...
And this is her talking about how this administration is trying to turn back the hands of time, I guess, with civil rights or something.
Slashing funding for HBCUs and rolling back civil rights enforcement across federal agencies. Let me repeat what
stop
that means.
That. Fact check.
To roll back civil rights enforcement across federal agencies.
Stop that. This administration has ramped up the funds for HBCUs. Now, what does she mean about cutting them?
He just issued an in-depth executive order.
Yeah, he increased them. So what the hell is she talking about? Is she just ignorant or is she just lying on purpose?
This is the so-called DEI attacks that we continue to endure in this country. This is their way of trying to roll back the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that so many died and bled for.
You didn't.
Mr. Speaker, this is not just about policy disagreement. This is about direct attacks on Black futures, Black prosperity, and Black freedom. This is about right versus wrong, point blank. But here's what they don't understand. We've seen this playbook, and every time they've attempted to silence us, erase us, and hold us down, we've resisted and we've pushed this country closer to the ideals it claims to hold. They are trying to bury us, but what they don't realize is that we are seeds and still we rise. I stand here a proud Black woman and a proud member of the Congressional Black Caucus, and I refuse to stand by while this administration tries to turn back the hands of time. We will resist. We will continue speaking truth to power, and we will keep organizing until everybody is free. Because, in the words of Fannie Lou Hamer, nobody's free until everybody's free. I yield back.
I call BS bullshit. I was there when it was going down, and I don't like DEI because it gets incompetence in positions like her.
And this is Trump criticizing her.
I can't name one Democrat. I mean, I look at the Democrats, they're in total disarray. They have a new person named Crockett. I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. And they said, she's the future of the party. I said, I can't name.
I'd agree. I really would. I agree.
And she said that she wants to officially run for a ranking member of the House Oversight Committee following Representative Connolly's announcement that he'll be stepping down. So she wants to take his place. And this is her talking about it.
But I am the vice ranker on the Oversight Committee, and if given an opportunity to lead, I am ready to go on day one.
And so you are throwing your hat in the ring for that?
If there is an election, he's not resigned his post, but we know that he's not seeking re-election, so it may be next term before that post opens.
Why do you think that you would be the best Democrat to take that position?
Because I think
which is essentially to fight the president and his agenda.
Exactly, it is. Listen, oversight has so much latitude. But beyond that, we are allowed to conduct investigations. We are allowed to send out subpoenas and get documents. And here's the deal. My legal experience, I think, helps me be able to kind of guide through that part. But one thing we've always done really well as Democrats is get down and do the work. But we've got to communicate what it is that we were able to get in that work and translate it. And so I think that I can not only do the work, but make sure that people understand this is why we're having these problems at the FDA. This is why we're having these problems at the VA. This is why we have planes that are falling out of the sky. It is to do the investigation, find out about these firings and how they are impacting us. The information that this administration wants to hide from the American people, I want to make sure I can shine a light on it.
I'd like to shine a light on your chicanery and foolishness too.
But my thing is, why didn't you shine a light on it when Biden was in office for the 4 years?
Yeah, I know. And we know you're deep in the pockets.
And how is he trying to hide something that you guys caused?
Yeah, and the other thing is, hey, it's your fault. You did it. You support it. And all he's doing is exposing it. So he's hiding it. He's putting a searchlight on it.
She contradicted herself.
I know. And she's so deep into the rainbow pocket. I mean, you know, she got
illegal. She's deep into the illegal migrant pocket.
Yeah, well, that's part of the rainbow agenda. So what is she? Rainbow? Is she needs to come on out the closet or something?
Oh, this is what I wanted to show you. So you said,
I mean, it's 21st century. I suppose it's all right, but I mean, why don't you just come on out the closet?
This is the very last thing, and this is quick, and this goes back to the MET Gala, right? So the Black Dandy, Black fashion, Black men in fashion. This white girl showed up at the Met because it's all about the tailoring, right? Self-tailored to your body and be creative with it. But this is disrespect. This is her outfit.
Well, I can't see much of it. Let's see.
But it's the panties. The disrespect is the panties. And you know
why? I know, because most of the people that are the dandies wouldn't appreciate the panties on a girl. Have them on themselves.
No.
What's
he had the designer design the face of Rosa Parks on her panties.
How can you see that?
Well, let me zoom it in. Let me make this bigger here. Give me a second. All right, can you see it?
I don't see anything. Okay, well, maybe that's an exposition on
you see the faces?
Maybe that's an exposition on Black female power. I don't know.
She's white.
So what?
You don't.
He might have a little in there.
I don't care. No. I don't care if she was black. Why would you have Rosa Parks' face on your panties?
Got them everywhere else.
No, you don't. You don't walk around with Rosa Parks
Oh,
on your
they
cooch.
make all kinds of things.
On your cooch. Come on, Judge. Come
We're
on.
too sensitive. We need to get
Rosa
over.
Parks on the panties, and that's her homage to.
Yeah, I mean, what is would that turn anybody on? Obviously, it's supposed.
No, it actually turns people off and she's the one that was caught saying some racial slurs on social media or whatever. But
Then she's
you want to put her face on panties as a sign of.
She's making a statement. We have a First Amendment. She's got a right to do that. I mean, there is some collateral fallout, but that's just
really so
consequences of having free speech.
Listen, you admire Malcolm X, right?
Yeah.
What if some man put his face on his boxer brief in the front part?
That's his business.
That's sick.
But it may be, but it's right under the Constitution.
I'm not talking about whether she has a right to do it, but I'm saying it's still disrespectful.
I don't care. It's her right to do it. She can be as disrespectful as you can.
But you know why you defending her? Because she a young thing.
No, it's
and
not
she
why
looks good in this
I'm
outfit.
doing
That's
it.
why.
You know why I'm doing it?
She was unattractive.
You know why I'm doing it? When the coast was clear to make this future anything we wanted it to be, for the last 50 years, Hollywood, black entertainers, black media has tried to glorify dysfunction, and it has taken it to this negative thing where it's like a competition to see how many times in a sentence you can say the N-word. It's like a competition to see how many times you can get away with saying the N-word in a movie. It's about how many times you can talk about dysfunction in the course of some hip hop gangster rap production.
It says Joe would be mad if it was Nancy Reagan. Yeah, if that was Nancy Reagan wearing those panties.
Look, Nancy Reagan was usually so high it was pathetic. So I mean, she was the Valium queen. So I mean, Nancy Reagan doesn't impress me. And I don't care. You can ridicule her all you want.
Attractive.
This is America. You can ridicule anybody all you want if they are a public figure. It may be offensive, but the person has a right to be offensive.
You have a right, but you have a right to be offensive. But I'm just saying it's offensive.
It may be, but get over it.
Yeah, okay. Well, you know what? You know who was the belle of the ball? Her right here, honey. Yes, Mahogany, honey, the one and only Diana Ross. Oh, she was the showstopper tonight at the Met Ball. Yes, mother tore it down. Yes, she did. Tailored, extravagant. When you talk about dandyism, honey, she is the queen of dandy. Yes, she is.
Men and women are not dandies. That's a man thing.
Or whatever. She looked good, and she's what, 7? How old is Diana Ross? Older than you, or y'all the same age?
Older than I am.
She looked good.
I'm friends with Sherry Payne, who was one of the Supremes.
She 81. She's older than you.
Yeah, I know.
And look at her, fabulous, belle of the ball.
Yes.
Yes, she is. You talk about glamour, black excellence, black beauty. My favorite film is Mahogany.
What's Mahogany? I never saw that.
It came out in the 70s before I was born. But I caught it when I was a little bit older, like in the 80s, 90s. She was this fashion designer from Chicago. She was discovered by this fashion photographer, and he told her, come to Italy and I will make you a star. And she started off being a model, and then she ended up, and she wanted to be a fashion designer. And you know, the photographer who brought her over there and made her famous, he ended up being a psycho. And he was the one that played in the Norman Bates, that actor. So anyway, he ended up being crazy after she became a supermodel. And then this wealthy Italian man was like, I'm going to invest in you, you know, creating your own first fashion line. And she did. But back in Chicago, honey, she left the love of her life to pursue her dreams, and that was Billy D. Williams. And so she became this big sensation. But
You
then,
mean like Lady Sings the Blues?
yeah, she became, but it wasn't Lady Singing the Blues.
Why did they pick her for that part, by the way?
Can I finish this synopsis? So when she became all this success in Italy, she realized it means nothing because she ain't had a man that she loved. So she went back to Chicago, honey, in her full-length fur, and bum rushed his congressman press conference and ran into his arms, and they lived happily ever after. I loved it.
Sounds remote.
No, it doesn't. And throughout the whole show, her fashion, she was beautiful with the photography and the clothes and the looks. And yes, and here
And
she
I don't care.
What?
I don't care.
I care. I care. I care. I care.
But it doesn't do anything to advance the cause.
Yes, it does.
I'm still trying to figure out.
Yes, it does.
I'm still trying to figure out why they had her play in Lady Sings the Blues. Billie Holiday.
Yes, wasn't Mahogany a great movie? What do you mean? Why not?
Why would they have her playing Billie Holiday?
Why not?
She doesn't look anything like Billie Holiday.
People don't look like the person that they're playing.
Yeah, but they could come close. Come on, that's like having what's his name?
Because she was the hottest thing during that time, and of course,
that's like they had Black Panther. They could have had Frida Payne play Billie Holiday. They
what? No damn Frida Payne. Why? She don't look like Billie
yes,
Holiday.
She does.
No, she don't.
She looks more like Billie Holiday than she does.
No, she don't. They both
yes, she does. No, she doesn't. Billie Holiday was high bright.
You just had you always had a
no. My aunt was Billie Holiday's roommate for 11 years, so I have a little Billie Holiday foundation. My aunt Bertha used to.
Frida Payne don't look like Billie Holiday either.
She looks more like her than this one.
Because Billie Holiday was a little bit more fair skinned, and
Billie Holiday was
Diana
a lot.
Ross was brown skin. Yeah, but
my aunt was extremely dark.
That's
and
nice.
Billie Holiday was
Diana, honey.
very, very.
You know why she played Billie Holiday?
I don't know. Except Hollywood.
I'm about to tell you, Barry Gordy produced the movie.
Well, yeah, there you go. But then, by the way,
Baby Daddy
Barry Gordy had access to Frida Payne.
But that's her baby daddy. And she was a hot singer. She was the woman.
Got it. But anyway, it was.
It's like stop. I hate when you
start I hate
over these women
because they glorified all of the dysfunction that they tried to hit Billie Holiday to discredit the woman. It was a horrible discreditation of the woman.
Wasn't Billie Holiday? Didn't she use heroin?
Not like that.
Well, she.
There was a big thing. The story is there was a big thing that some white producers did, trying to divest her of her income, the enormous amounts of money that her recordings were generating. And that was part of the scam that they tried to pull off on her. It was a horrible injustice. And what they wound up doing with this movie is perpetrating the injustice.
Dan, I'm so sorry. I didn't see your super chat. So Dan Jr., I do read the super chats, by the way. He says, and let me see if I could grab it. More unqualified candidates get jobs through nepotism than DEI. This narrative was created to distract from the real problem, nepotism.
Nepotism is a problem. A lot of the folk that are in politics now are the children and grandchildren of folk that actually did something, and they feel entitled.
Right.
That's the case down there in Atlanta right now. What is this?
And nepotism is for Pete, but that was his.
Well, yeah, that nepotism is bad. Some people think that families own various offices.
Yeah. Well, good show tonight. That's it.
Okay. By the way, I got some stories to tell you that I eyeballed myself. Hey, call me. Well, I'll call you or whatever when you hang up.
Okay. Yeah, but you
Yeah,
need to answer your phone.
I'll call you.
It's a voicemail.
I'll call you so it doesn't go straight to voicemail.
Okay. All right, everybody. Listen, thank you guys for tuning in. And, thank you guys on X. Please like, share this video, and make sure you comment below in the comment section. And we see you soon. I will see you on Wednesday. And I don't judge. Are you going to do the X Space tomorrow?
What is tomorrow? Tuesday? I guess I have no choice.
You do have
Okay,
a
yeah.
choice.
I can do X Space tomorrow. Yeah.
You wanted
I
to
just
do
hope
last week,
get
but
all the folk that are too damn woke to be awake. Too many of them are too woke to be awake.
I know that's right. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful night. I forgot to cue up the damn outro. Oh, here we go. All right.